Hello students and learning coaches, this is Miss Boyd. This video is to help you with Math, Unit 13, Lesson 5. So please log in to your OLS, go to Unit 13, Lesson 5 for Math. We're comparing numbers. It says in everyday situations, so we're wanting to use problems that make sense to our students that they may see in real life. If you click on Lesson Resources and then Materials, it will show you all the materials you're going to need for today's lesson. So take a moment to view that, get those activity materials ready. It's interesting that you can pull up your lesson guide right here on the materials list. This may even be easier for you to use than getting out your book. You will need these materials for your students to make up some problems, and then their activity book 287 through 288. I'm going to go ahead and click on this lesson guide book and have that open, so when we get to it in a few minutes it will be available. Okay. Alright, I can close that box since I have my materials ready. When you start your lesson, you'll first need to go to Review Assessment. So click the Review Assessment and walk through those items with your student. Please pause the video now to complete that activity. After you've done that activity, you can click Continue with Lesson, and we'll continue on. Alright, your student will walk through this lesson called the Food Court Compare Problems. Make sure you go through screens 1 through 11, and it will talk to your student about how to know if it is a compare problem, or how many more, how many less, or if you're just adding the items together. Be sure to go through all 11 of those screens and then click this arrow to continue. Here's another activity to practice comparing or just adding items together. Your student will like this activity. So you're going to go to the next screen.
Click a building in the mall to explore.
And this is the neat thing. Your child can pick where to go first and do the problems there.
Listen to this story problem. There are 5 girls standing in line at the movie theater. There are 3 boys standing in line at the movie theater. How many fewer boys are standing in line than girls at the movie theater? Think about whether you need to compare to solve this problem. Click Yes if you need to compare. Click No if you do not need to compare.
So again, these are some problems that your student can work through. They can choose which building to go to. After you've answered this and gotten your explanation, you can click back to Home, and your student can choose a different building to work a different problem. After you've gone through those buildings, we can click the arrow here to continue. But please pause the video so your student can work through the math mall. The next portion of our lesson is an offline activity. Now, Ms. Boyd had pulled up the page from the lesson guide. So I'm going to show that here. This just basically walks you through the lesson we were just going through. It shows you that we did an online skills update. We had 2 other sections online, and now we're ready for the offline portion called Make Up a Compare Story. I'm going to scroll on down. Again, this is in your book. Here's the page number, 383. Here's just a little more explanation. And here we are for Learn, Make Up a Compare Story. This is where you need the 5 spoons, 3 forks, 6 cups, and 4 plates. If you have not gotten those objects, then please pause now to get those objects for your students to use. These directions walk you through how to answer these questions with your students. I'm going to show you one of the problems it gives. It asks your student to get the 5 spoons and 3 forks. Once you've made those two groups, it wants you to ask the question, how many more spoons do we have than forks? So again, your student has that model, 5 spoons, 3 forks, and this shows you the kind of questions you should be asking. How many spoons do you see? How many forks? And what number sentence would solve this problem? Then your student can compare and see that there are 2 more spoons than forks. Follow the directions to have your student create at least 2 of their own story problems to solve. Pause the video now to complete the rest of the offline activity with your student. Once you've completed the activity with the forks, spoons, plates, and cups, then you can click the arrow to continue your lesson. And this part is also offline. You can have your student get their page 287 through 288. It says they will use blocks to complete this activity. I'm going to bring up the page here for us to look at. And we'll walk through a couple of these problems together. Again, your student is deciding whether it's comparing or not. So basically they're deciding if they're going to add or if they're going to subtract. The first problem says Pat has 8 rocks in his collection. Chris has 4 rocks in her collection. How many rocks do they have all together? So your student can model this, 8 and the 4. I have us a picture of that. 8 rocks and 4 rocks. And the question was, how many do we have all together? If your student said we're going to add those all together, then they are correct. This was an adding problem because you're going to put the 2 groups together to get a total. Number 2 says Jack has 4 apples, Nancy has 1 apple. How many fewer apples does Nancy have than Jack? That word fewer is a clue that we're going to compare. So we have a picture here of 4 apples and 1 apple. Your student can model this with blocks or draw a picture. But we're wanting to know how many fewer, how many less. So our students can compare and see that the one person has 3 more, or this one has 3 fewer. Remember, that is the same thing. So you'll continue through these problems with your student. And we'll continue. And then you can mark your lesson complete. Again, this was Unit 13, Lesson 5. Be sure to complete the attendance survey to let us know that you watched this video and what your student learned.